for Palworld. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lawsuit against Palworld again, and this time it's now Palworld became my favorite game. Like recently, I've been playing this game for like a lot, really non-stop, a single player, like aside from like a series. I'm in another world just to make series out of it. I've been watching it, so let's do it.
Nintendo is oftentimes viewed as the family-friendly video game publisher. All their games, for the most part, are made for children, mostly, which is a big reason why Nintendo is so successful when it comes to every game that they release for the last couple of decades. And one of their biggest franchises is, of course, Pokemon. We all know what that is. What's your favorite Pokemon, by the way? Mine's Nidoking. But when it comes to Nintendo, they may
Mine would be unrealistically Gyarados. Sorry, Rayquaza, not Gyarados. Unrealistically, Rayquaza.
seem happy and friendly on the surface. But when it comes to the way they view their competition and other gaming entities,
Other than Rayquaza, I think it's Zygarde, the final evolution.
they're about as bloodthirsty as they come, and Nintendo has been in a months-long legal battle with Palworld, which is another game that you definitely know about too. Palworld
I love this game,
World is
dude.
like
I
a
love this game with all of my heart because you can do things that you cannot do in fucking outside.
Pokemon and crafting-based building got mixed together, and you can also shoot your Pokemon, or pals in this case, with guns too. It took the internet by storm when it first released, and it sold like 25 million copies and then some in its first year alone. Palworld was a massive success. It did Call of Duty and even Elden Ring numbers as a new IP. Everyone celebrated because Palworld was new, and it was also on other consoles and wasn't only tied to Nintendo. And it took the monster capturing genre and just elevated it. And of course, because they did that, Nintendo was not happy at all. And
Everyone loved it. Palworld, everyone loved it so up to a point they're like, nah, we don't care about Nintendo. That's why they're like, okay, maybe we can do that. We are screaming through this, boys.
now it's becoming very clear that Nintendo, well, they're forcing Palworld and developer Pocket Pair to bend the knee, and if you ask me, as you'll see, it is utterly ridiculous, man. This comes from TheVerge.com. Palworld had to remove game features because of Nintendo lawsuit. In a new blog post by Pocket Pair, they said that while changes have already happened because of Nintendo, more will be removed in the future, as it reads here. We have had to make certain compromises in order to avoid disruptions to the development and distribution of Palworld. Pocket Pair also spoke on the ongoing legal battle via that same blog post, which also reads, currently, we remain involved in prolonged legal proceedings regarding alleged patent infringement. We continue to dispute these claims and assert the invalidity of the patent in question. However, we have had to make certain compromises in order to avoid disruptions to the development and distribution of Palworld. Among these changes, the first one spearheaded by Nintendo was that Palworld had to remove its Pal Sphere feature, which was how players caught and summoned their pals in-game. Yeah, it was reminiscent of a Pokeball and shared the same
Isn't that also in the Dragons and Dungeons are like something like Dragon games or Monster Hunter game? Isn't like the same capturing thing is inside the Monster Hunter game? Is it wrong? Is it me or is it just what?
purpose. However, Pocket Pair believed that Nintendo did not own the rights to a ball summoning creatures in a video game because technically they don't. This would be like if Doom was suing every game in existence because they too had guns that could shoot bullets. This backwards way of thinking you somehow own a game mechanic is, yes, ridiculous. Especially since Pokemon got its inspiration for summoning monsters in the first place from another game called Shin Megami Tensei. The only difference is they used
It's called Shin Megami Tensei. Okay.
a Pokeball, whereas Shin Megami Tensei would
The more you know.
summon monsters, but it's the same thing. Yet Nintendo was allowed to exist as they are, but Palworld can't. It's ridiculous if you ask me. Then on November 30th, 2024, Pocket Pair was forced to remove Pal Spheres, with pals now just appearing beside you out of thin air, which is, yes, very anticlimactic, but that's all they could do with the time given, thanks to Nintendo being bloodthirsty and, of course, protected by lawyers. But it became worse than that, since in Palworld, you could also ride your pals and fly around places too. Unfortunately, again, in the game, they also had to remove that flying feature because, again, Nintendo deemed it too simple.
They didn't. They genuinely didn't. No way. I will not believe if they actually did. I will not believe if you say they actually
Similar
did.
to their Pokemon series. Here's what Pocket Pair said as it reads. Furthermore, we regret to inform our players that with the implementation of patch version 0.55, we must make yet another compromise. From this patch onward, gliding will be performed using a glider rather than with pals. Pals in the player's team will still provide passive buffs to gliding, but players will now need to have a glider in their inventory in order to glide. We understand that this will be disappointing for many, just as it is for us, but we hope our fans understand.
Okay, I understand that, but Palworld is appearing out of thin air next to us. It's just
that these changes are necessary in
dumb.
order to prevent further disruptions to the development of Palworld. All of this is just ridiculous to me because Nintendo does not own the right to any one of these things. Plus the fact that you have games like Monster Hunter Stories, which is literally
Oh, I called it. Yeah, Monster Hunter Stories. It's not Monster Hunter. It's called Monster Hunter Stories. Okay, called it
just
out.
Monster Hunter, but it's also a Pokemon existing game where you can raise your monsters and capture them and more is ridiculous. Maybe it's because Monster Hunter Stories first released on Switch, so Nintendo allowed it or had something with them. But it's just very selective outrage on their part if you ask me. If Monster Hunter Stories can exist as it is and also get a whole sequel game and Nintendo doesn't destroy Capcom for pretty much just doing Pokemon in their own way, but Palworld is suddenly bad and has to change instead, it just shows how scummy Nintendo
No way.
Pokemon in their own way, but Palworld is suddenly bad and has to change instead. It just shows
This is not actual. There is no way this is an actual thing, right? No one's gonna pay $450 to do this.
how scummy Nintendo really is when it comes to their selective outrage and their lawsuits. It's rules for thee, but not for me. And Nintendo really is a bloodthirsty company, as you will see as you continue watching. Because you can use the same logic against them, that they don't
Okay, who the fuck is texting me? No, this is
own,
no one
say,
texting me.
RPG mechanics in Pokemon either. That leveling up and learning skills and having turn-based battles is technically just an infringement on, say, Dragon Quest, but you don't see any lawsuits against Nintendo for this as well. So why is it okay for Nintendo to do, but no one else? And you know Nintendo fans will just block out the noise if it means even criticizing their GOAT company Nintendo in any way. It's just stupid if you ask me. But then you have GameFile with this article titled, How a Nintendo Lawsuit Changed Palworld and What Might Come Next, Small Changes with Potentially Big Ramifications. So GameFile spoke to lawyers from both Japan and America about this battle of intellectual property rights between Pokemon and Palworld. And as they say here, which reads, if Nintendo and the Pokemon Company succeed, it could have a big impact on the wider video game industry.
It could be fucking judgmental to every game that is could come in the future, and if it could also mean a lot of things. It could also mean like if there is a mechanic and people like try to inspire by it and made it something big better than the mechanic you have, and you put a lawsuit and you win against them, as a consumer you're gonna lose. It's gonna have a lose-lose situation. Nintendo cannot win this fucking case. It should not be allowed in this case.
And this is what irks me about all of this. As if we didn't have enough problems already to deal with, Nintendo has been unfortunately successful in suppressing and destroying Palworld to such a point that they could cause a whole deluge of patent infringements pretty much coming for all sorts of games in the future. And what this victory for Nintendo means is nothing but really bad news for the wider game industry. Because this is how
It's really horrifying. I promise you, the end is not the goodest means.
you stop your competition from doing anything similar to what you do, and some may think that's a good thing.
Competition is a good thing. If it's outright copying you, sure, but fucking competition, I'm sorry, you're incompetent. Then they're incompetent so far. They're making like a low budget game. They do not fucking care. Yeah, you're
They
right.
go good. Palworld is just Pokemon anyways. It's just copying them and should not exist, except it isn't. The similarities are that both games have monsters that you capture, fight, and raise. Beyond that, Palworld has its own features that Pokemon doesn't even have themselves. The major base building thing is a good example, not to mention shooting pals with guns, which Nintendo would never do themselves. But
Yeah.
the thing is that what Nintendo is trying to do here is unlawful and it is harmful to the wider industry. This will just stifle creativity and pigeonhole developers and franchises into not doing any sort of game mechanics that are going to be similar to Nintendo's core franchises going forward, otherwise they'll be hit with lawsuits too. And no one in this industry outside of maybe Microsoft could really out-lawyer Nintendo with sheer money and time. And the way these things should go is kind of how From Software has gone about it in the past. Think about sheer money and time. And the way these things should go is kind of how
Nintendo is copying fucking pocket fucking Palworld. Yo, welcome back, Zane. Welcome back.
From Software has gone about it in the past. Think about it, right? From Software made the Soulsborne genre. They have inspired many other development studios into creating a subgenre of games that are called Souls-likes. These games range from all kinds, but they all have one thing in common, which is that they adhere to the design philosophy of what From Software developed when they first created Demon's Souls all the way back on the PlayStation 3. While yes,
This is one of the best thing ever. The Demon Souls was horrifying. The greatest game ever. It gave you a thrill, a challenge that no other game gave you. No other game gave you. Now, Elden Ring was the final step. Like, Elden Ring doesn't even feel like it's made by a fucking human anymore. It felt like out of fucking world.
From Software created the design and concept of Soulsbornes themselves, it does not mean that they own the concept. This ties into Palworld and Pokemon because it's a part of a greater counter argument.
Yep.
If From Software was money hungry like Nintendo is, they would, what then? Throw lawsuits against anyone who dares makes a Souls-like game in the future then, what would that accomplish exactly? Besides just ruining the
This should not be enabled. This
market and stifle
stupidity, this retardness, what do you call it? Infringement, and what do you call it? The privileges, the fucking privilege fucks should not be on play at all.
pulling great new games from existing, like
As consumers, we can retaliate against it. We can, absolutely.
Liza P or Kazan and more. Plus, the broadness of what encapsulates what a Soulsborne or Souls-like isn't exactly fair from
As consumers, we can absolutely retaliate against it. But would they consider even looking at it? Absolutely. If you're like more than 15, and if you stop buying Nintendo stuff, you win.
software to do anyways, because these things are still based on being an RPG and having action gameplay, and the uniqueness does come from dying and then your souls being
Just don't buy anything from Nintendo. Greatest thing
left
option.
where you die. And of course, things like the dark atmosphere and challenging boss fights and more. But From Software can't exactly claim that they own any one of these mechanics, because they are by definition based on mechanics that have existed in other games like boss battles and more.
How much you want to bet? It's gonna be like Scarlet and Violet. The fucking game is gonna be ass. The graphics, the gameplay, everything's gonna be ass. How much do you want to bet?
So dropping your souls is like dropping your equipment in, say, a first-person shooter online game or dark atmospheres. Those exist in plenty of more games and then some. And yet Nintendo can apparently claim, actually, we own the concept of throwing a ball to summon a monster. We also own the concept of capturing and fighting and raising monsters too. How though? Wouldn't this mean that Monster Hunter is then infringement on Pokemon then? This is like one restaurant throwing lawsuits at everybody around them because they dare to make pizza. Even if the pizza has different toppings. Sorry, no, you can't make pizza because we make pizza too. Like, you can't be serious, Nintendo. Thankfully, Pocket Pair is fighting back, and when you look at the claims, it's actually egregious. This comes from Game
Let's see.
Pocket Pair defenses against Nintendo's patent lawsuits Unpacked, Ark, Craftopia, Zelda, Final Fantasy XIV, etc. may render asserted patents invalid. This is a long article. There's a lot to go over here, but it may prove why Nintendo's lawsuit could in fact not hold ground once this is all said and done. As it reads here in Palworld's defense, on February 21st, 2025, Pocket Pair filed multiple preparatory briefs arguing that Nintendo's patents in suit shouldn't have been granted in the first place because there was prior art, meaning that there was published material, such as other patent applications, articles, or games before the relevant priority dates that already covered what Nintendo claimed to have invented. Oh boy, this next part is a lot of text, but it then reads, invalid contentions can be based on one piece of prior art if something is pretty much a copy of pre-existing material. What one sees more often, however, is that someone defending against a patent points to a combination of two or more pieces of prior art. If someone working in the field could simply have combined those two or more elements and would have been reasonably likely to come up with the idea of combining them, then the combination is not really an invention. In the United States, the requirement that a combination must meet a certain standard is called the non-obviousness requirement, and the Japanese term is similar to the European concept that if you combined pre-existing things, there must be an inventive step involved that leads to the combination. So the argument being made is that the things that
That's the greatest counter argument ever. That is the greatest counter argument ever.
Nintendo is suing Palworld for are concepts that originate from other previous concepts that Nintendo does not own themselves. So Pokeballs capturing monsters, Nintendo doesn't own the right to capturing monsters as a mechanic, nor do they own the ball feature. Yes, they own the art of what a Pokeball looks like, sure. Like, you can't just have a literal Pokeball in your game too that looks like a one.
Absolutely. If you have like a same Pokeball, like a Master Ball and a Great Ball, then sure. If it's the same exact copy, yeah, then you can sue them for that. Other than that, I don't think you can do it.
You know, like the red and the white and all of that. But they don't.
You cannot fucking own a mechanic just because you can copy it from another one else. You create it yourself. If anything, you're copying Digimon. Should I say that? Is Digimon actually fucking copying? I don't know.
The concept is what is being argued here, and they're right. As you can see on screen
maybe
here,
that was a retarded ass take. I'm sorry if that is.
there are a bunch of games listed that feature similar elements to what Nintendo is suing Pocket Pair for. Games like Far Cry 5 allow you to capture monsters for material.
Okay, pardon the okay. The Legend of Zelda, their own game. Pokemon Legend Arceus, okay. Sword, Nintendo. Final Fantasy 14, okay. Far Cry, okay. Monster Super Legend, okay. Pixelmon mod for Minecraft.
Materials. Octopath Traveler has RPG turn-based elements and
What? I can't send a long video on Discord. I wanted to show you a gameplay. What is it?
also has the Hunter class in-game that allows you to capture monsters like Pokemon in a sense too, and then use those monsters in battle using using the hunter's abilities, and even games like Tomb Raider are listed, and even Titanfall 2, where the big monster in Titanfall 2's campaign is summoned similarly to a Pokemon. And as you can see from all of these listed, if Nintendo wants to stay consistent with their lawsuit, then they should be launching the same thing at Electronic Arts and Square Enix. And even their own games rip off these mechanics too, and as you can see here as well. Games Phrase shows many examples of how the games listed use similar mechanics in Nintendo's Pokemon series. But this does not make these games nor Palworld liable for a lawsuit because of similar mechanics. And the gist of the argument is that there are many different pathways a developer can take to reach similar conclusions or gameplay concepts. This would be like saying that if I do a video on Palworld and then another YouTuber does a similar video, that I can sue them for making a video about the same thing. But no, that doesn't work that way. And as seen here, Pocket Pair makes the claim against Nintendo's second lawsuit about riding monsters around, and claiming that the best counter to Nintendo is the game series Arc, which also allows players to do the exact same thing that they're being sued for.
Okay,
Nintendo
the greatest argument ever. Another greatest argument ever. Ark was like dinosaurs. You can fly on them, climb on them, or walk on them.
has obviously not filed a lawsuit against Ark, but Palworld instead, despite both games having the same concept of what's going on in those games, hence the whole all roads lead to the same mechanic argument. But this was the big scum moment for Nintendo, which reads in these next two paragraphs. Here's the first one, which says, "There is no question that Pocket Pair and its lawyers have made a huge effort to develop many invalidity and infringement arguments. Again, a single such argument for a given patent is enough to be cleared with respect to that patent. But Nintendo is suing over 3 patents, and Pocket Pair won't want to lose over any single one of them. But here's where it gets worse. As it says, Nintendo will try to overcome Pocket Pair's defenses. It will have a lot of work to do to address all these invalidity and non-infringement arguments. Plus, Nintendo may be working on a United States patent lawsuit, as we discussed
No, they should not. They cannot win this one. Oh, no.
this month, given that Nintendo is studiously trying to obtain patents that it might try to use against Palworld.
They cannot win against this.
Jesus, dude, no way. So Nintendo is allegedly trying to obtain patents right now to secure their right to these key gameplay mechanics going forward. And if Nintendo were to become successful in obtaining these patents, they would now exclusively own several rights in games.
It
One is they could patent the right
do
to monster capture genre gaming as a whole. And the second would be any game with you tossing something to capture a monster or maybe capture in general would now be infringement on Nintendo's.
It would also make Wuthering Waves in a dire situation. In a dire situation, Wuthering Waves is gonna be in a dire situation too. It cannot be happening.
Nintendo could try to also gain a copyright against the gameplay mechanic to allow a player to ride a creature around in the world.
It cannot happen.
In Pokemon, obviously too. But here's the thing, and this applies well beyond the Palworld lawsuit, which is that if Nintendo were to somehow obtain these patents, that's a big if, by the way, they could effectively sue anyone with anything similar to Pokemon in general going forward. And as you saw in that list of games before, showing Tomb Raider,
Wuthering Waves and other games like Azure Familia are in trouble if this is actually gonna be happening. This is gonna be really horrifying.
Path, Far Cry, Titanfall, and more, all of these games would then become liable for lawsuits if Nintendo were to become successful in their patents that they're now actively looking to secure, while also suing Pocket Pair as well, which is horrible if you ask me, and continues to prove that Nintendo is absolutely one of the most power and money-hungry companies in the industry by far. They may hide their insatiable greed behind their cute games, but beneath it, if they had their way, which again, they are literally trying to do right now as we speak, it could spell dire change and suffocate innovation simply because Nintendo is just greedy. Why this pisses me off even more is that Nintendo is notorious for not iterating their Pokemon franchise at all. For decades, they released the same game with a new coat of paint.
Yeah, I'm fucking bored of the fucking game. I'm bored of that fucking
game. With each game performing even better than the last financially, which of course became a cash cow for Nintendo.
Dude, I'm telling my friends not to buy the Nintendo Switch. Don't buy anything that is related to Nintendo. They're not listening to me. They are not listening to me at all.
Nintendo, and show that Nintendo didn't really have to change anything but deliver.
This is all I have to say. These kind of fuckers who pay Nintendo and get their games are actually the poison for the consumers of gaming industry. These guys are the poison for gaming industry and consumers. This should not, corporations should not be winning against consumers. That's not how it should be go. That is not how it should go.
Same game over and over again, and then they would just rake in the billions every single year. Of course, it did hit a fever point when Sword and Shield came out and people got really sick of the same formula again on Nintendo Switch. And players rightfully criticized Nintendo for delivering the same slop experience on their brand new hardware that could do a lot more than the previous ones. They then released Scarlet and Violet, which looked absolutely horrible and ran even worse. They did.
It looked like shit. It looked like shit. I won't gonna lie to you. It looked like shit.
try something different with the Legends series, but generally speaking, when it comes to the mainline games, Nintendo just doesn't feel the need to change anything because they know that players will just buy their slop regardless. And now with the Nintendo Switch 2 just around the corner, we're about to see the game industry change even more, and I don't think for the better. Remember that it was Nintendo that forced the $80 American digital and $90 physical price points earlier this year. They pulled that lever, and now other companies are following suit too. And unfortunately, Nintendo fans will eat it up and pay through the nose regardless because they'll be blinded by hype of the Nintendo Switch 2. And my big worry is that once the Switch 2 breaks those records, which it will, that the larger industry will believe that they can get away with the same thing too. And we already saw with the whole Borderlands 4 debacle with Randy Pitchford saying that if you were a real fan, you'd find a way to buy the game. And I think while everything gets more expensive in general, Nintendo is genuinely the harbinger of destruction at the forefront of all of this.
I told you. I said it.
But I already know that people will buy their games and accept the prices because they want the new shiny Mario or Zelda or Pokemon.
Guys, you need to realize this. Nintendo is bench pressing you and fucking you in your ass. It's that's what it's doing. And you want me even worse at Adotomy that one of my favorite YouTubers does. Nintendo is bench pressing your wife and fucking them while you are sitting down and cook and clapping like, yay. You gotta fucking stop. You gotta stop. Enough is enough with the fucking Nintendo Switch games. They don't care about you. They don't care about making a better game than they already have. Just stop playing Nintendo games. Go outside, play like a witch. Like there's another game that like last time I saw. Play Wuthering Waves. You want fucking peaceful games? Play Minecraft. Play Palworld. Guys, this should not be a thing right now. We cannot let this corporate people win this at all. Come on people, get up.
Game that's coming.
Wake the fuck up.
And at that point, it really is a problem with no fixing if people keep rewarding these companies for their scummy business practices. And it's no wonder why Nintendo hates Pocket Pair specifically, because they released a game that is Palworld that did take the internet by storm. It looked better than any Pokemon game before it. It evolved the formula of monster capture systems, and beyond all of that, remember that Palworld wasn't even a full price game either when it first released. Palworld originally came out at $30 American, which is insane to think about, especially in today's world with how much games cost now. And a single Nintendo game will cost almost 3 times the cost of Palworld did at release. So it's
you gotta understand, guys. You gotta stop at a certain point. It doesn't feel like it feels like, oh shit, this is worse.
no wonder why Nintendo.
So get the fuck up, move your asses, sell all of your Nintendo Switch, Nintendo games, every single last one of them, sell them all, get back home, play something else. You want to play fucking TCG? Go play Vanguard, Cardfight Vanguard. So much better, You would love it. Get the fuck up.
wants this game to die in a hole for the rest of time if they could, because Pocket Pair proved that
I'm back again. Welcome back, dude.
Nintendo's unwillingness to change or evolve their Pokemon series was not due to costs or budget. But in the end, it's just greed, and it always has been. In Pokemon games especially, they really have no business costing $80 American at release based on what's going to be on offer. Yet they've gotten away with it every single other time, and they will continue.
Guys, I'm gonna say this again. Things gotta stop. We gotta move. We gotta get the fuck up. We gotta say like no. And before you say maybe you're gonna say you own the fucking Switch too. I never owned a fucking Nintendo game ever in my fucking life. I never owned them. That's what I'm gonna say.
Continue to do so.
You can go. I can show you one time my room review. I will show you all my room review one time. I'm gonna start a thing to settle down, but yeah, I will show you all my room review. There is not a single fucking Nintendo Switch or Nintendo fucking things again. I never even touched as saw in Nintendo. Great, Zane. Great, wonderful. Ah, fuck.
So what it seems like to me anyways, that Nintendo wants to destroy Pocket Pair and Palworld because they represented a far cheaper and more competitive alternative to their slot machine that was doing just the bare minimum to get people to pay them millions and billions again for the same thing. And now that Nintendo is trying to patent stuff like capturing monsters or riding them, that's insane to me. I truly hope that Nintendo loses the lawsuit, because if they win all of this, it's not just Palworld that will suffer, but really all games. This brings me to a
It's gonna be Wuthering Waves. It's gonna Wuthering Waves is gonna suffer. I mean real life too, Zane. Wuthering Waves is gonna suffer. Wuthering Waves is gonna suffer, and Azure Promelia is gonna suffer, and a lot of other games that apply same type of mechanics. Not exactly, but apply same kind of mechanics inspired by these. Gonna suffer a lot, and I mean a lot. So just keep your distance from Nintendo.
Ton.com with their article titled, Video game patents are not a way to monopolize game mechanics, but to recover development costs, says Sega, Capcom, and Konami legal experts. A reminder, this article distinctly speaks about IP and property rights in Japan and not the broader world at large, but since both Pokemon and Palworld are Japanese, yeah, this is why this is relevant. So this talk between these legal experts happened at Tokyo Esports Festa 2025. The experts on the panel agreed that the game industry is built upon developers reiterating and improving the ideas and mechanics.
If they win, I don't think we have any game. I don't think we can win. I promise you. If they win in a
These experts
situation,
agree that it is not illegal to take ideas from other companies like gameplay mechanics. One of these experts is Kikyo Matsumoto, who's the head of Sega's corporate development. He states that it's fine for companies to imitate other companies' ideas, but there's a limit in his eyes before those imitations become lawsuit worthy. Matsumoto brings up how Sega is currently filing patent applications for technological solutions during game development. And the reason for this is because in Sega's case, and I'm sure this is true of others, is that they are finding games are becoming more expensive to make, which is, yes, that is true. Obviously, we all know that. But in Sega's case, as this expert explains, is that these patent applications are not meant for Sega to throw lawsuits around and sue people. The idea is that these patents that they're developing are being implemented so they can
pretty sure they make less graphical games in Pokemon. Not Powerwall, Pokemon. They haven't did anything
leverage
actual
these patented
thing.
ideas and solutions to other companies to use as long, and this is key, as they pay the royalties for it. So the gist of why Sega specifically is going about this is to both protect their games but also patent unique gameplay mechanics so that in the future they can use those patents via the royalties gained from them to help offset the high price of game development these days. Then Shunosuke Murasa, I said his name wrong.
I'm gonna say this. I absolutely will and always fight against corporate.
General manager for Konami's legal department, said this in response, which reads that with development costs ballooning to
yourself for the corporate. Dude, I make soaps. That is a factory, not a corporate. That's a factory. I make fucking soaps.
billions of yen per title, licensing out.
Know the fucking difference, dude. Where the fuck is it? Where's the fucking ban button on you? Get the fuck. Give me a minute. You dumbass motherfucker, coming at me, fucking retarded. You're taking their fucking life. Get the fuck out of my fucking chat, motherfucker. There we go. Found it. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of you, son of a bitch. Dumbass coming to me with the fucking retarded ass
new technology
question.
and game mechanics to other companies is an important means of recouping investment. He also suggested that if Konami didn't adequately protect the inventions born from their developers' research, the developers would lose their incentive, negatively impacting innovation in future games and creating a vicious cycle. Then we have Motor Okuyama, who does similar things to the other two at Capcom, who said this in response during the same summit. Okuyama suggested that patents indirectly play an important role in protecting the brand. According to Okuyama, the damage bootleg products and copies can do to one's brand is serious enough to jeopardize the survival of the company. But as copyright laws can't be used to protect game ideas themselves, Capcom uses a mixed intellectual property strategy, actively pursuing patent registrations as well as trademarks. So the way this all ties to Palworld and Pokemon is in a few ways. One is that Nintendo may be doing this to protect their brand and image, to how Okuyama, the Capcom legal guy, suggested. That if games that remind people of Pokemon exist but are not Pokemon related and are allowed to keep existing in the future, it will just damage the brand potential and the overall identity of Pokemon. But this could end up in what the other two legal experts said too, which is that what Nintendo might end up doing, as I said earlier about securing their patents on mechanics and such, is to do this so that they can license these ideas out into the world and profit off of them. And then say Palworld would suddenly pay royalties on each copy sold to Nintendo for using similar gameplay mechanics. And this would all be done to justify the connection, and Nintendo would likely think this is mutually beneficial to both parties. That being said, this also opens up
I do not fucking care if you're gonna make this shit like a whole ass fucking
another
bullshit.
Pandora's box of possibilities, and we shouldn't allow companies to own any gameplay mechanic, no matter how iconic they think it is. Because all this will do in the future is make the fortunate few at the very top, who have all the money and legal backing, to effectively secure every gameplay mechanic they want in the end. And where does this end? Because Nintendo owns the concept of what now? Jumping in a game because of Mario or swinging a sword in Zelda? So what then? Every game ever made has to now give money to Nintendo if you have jumping or slashing swords or monster riding or now capturing in your game? Then what?
I will fucking
id Software just
quit
go,
the
yeah,
games
we now own
entirely.
the concept of shooting guns and reloading them now too. And now every copy of Call of Duty and then some has to pay like $5 per copy sold to id Software just like that. You see where I mean? You see the slippery slope? This would only benefit the already billion or trillion dollar companies in the end and nobody else. And this will just destroy innovation and most importantly smaller games made by much smaller teams like Pocket Pair and more that don't have the same level of legal access or deep pockets like Nintendo does to strong arm their wishes into reality. This is bad, guys. Overall, none of this is okay to do, and Nintendo, if you ask me, is just proving that they are becoming greedier with each passing year. And where does this end? Oh, what's that? You type something on your phone or computer now? Well, now you got to pay $1 to the guy who invented that tech every time you hit send. Or you got to put a crispy $20 bill into the side of your car every time to make it turn on. In the end, it's egregious is what I'm trying to say. And what Nintendo has done here is classic scumbag corporate behavior. And while sure they're being suing Palworld for a while now, I don't think that a lot of us knew until right now how deep this lawsuit really goes. And if Nintendo wins, Pandora's box will get opened. And once that damn box has its lid torn off, all hell will break loose. Mark my words. But what do you think? Is Nintendo in the right or the wrong here? Let me know. Subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the support by being here.
God damn, dude. Fucking hell yeah, dude. Oh my god. This should not be a fucking thing. We cannot let corporate fucks win this. We cannot let corporate fucks win this at all. I promise you. The end does not justify the means right now. The end will not be justifying the any means. Hey, thank you for watching until end of this video. If you could consider liking this video and subscribing, it would help me and the editor a lot, and watch other videos too. Who knows, you might like them too. And other social medias are in the description. Follow them.